Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today we're going to be talking about fuboTV. I've covered this one quite a few times before, so you'll find a previous video in the description below. Make sure to drop a like to this video to help this channel grow, subscribe and leave notifications on, and let's jump right into this one. Now, fuboTV here. This one here has been on my watch list for a little. I've covered a few ones on it. There's been a little bit of a couple of new advancements. So recently, towards SEC filings, we have a new investor discovery around 1.67% of the target company. Institutional buyers have been adding on and on and on and on, especially in the last 2 weeks. They've added on quite a good amount of shares, and that is exciting. Now, the next thing here is insider transactions. So insider transactions in general seems to be a little bit stagnant. Nothing really happening there they can write about. Now, fuboTV announces proposed offering of $300 million of convertible senior notes due to 2026. And it looks like they are offering quite a lot. I mean, $350 million expiring in 2026 notes are somewhat still very expensive in terms of, it's very much profitable for them in terms of how general amounts they're going to get in terms of cash. Now, the next thing here is their offering of exchange upon the terms. Again, this is the stock shares offering. So, again, $350 million off convertible senior notes. And the big part of this one, and why I wanted to cover it today, is their current earnings coming up. And I'll go through exactly their earnings and how far it's been. So, Q4 total revenue is expected to be anywhere between $94 and $98 million. And a 77 to 84% increase year over year. Prior guidance was 80 to 85 million. Now, paid subscribers at the end of the year were expected to exceed 545,000, which is an increase of more than 72% year over year. And the prior guidance was around 500 to 510,000 subscribers. Now, what I want to cover here is just a little bit of an understanding of the general aspect of the previous earnings and how the price action was actually affected by it. Now, in general, just a quick thing here. This is paperwork related to post-merger, so we're not going to really discuss that in general. Already done. Now, this one here, supposedly it has a short float of 75.24. The exact numbers aren't always accurate on Finviz, but a lot of people are eyeing this one and seeing 75.24, and they're hoping for a short squeeze in general. That really is just triggered by this week's short squeeze. Now, short squeezes are kind of the new hot thing, like SPACs are. So, luckily for them, for FUBO has been a SPAC before, and now short squeeze, so it's a double trouble. Anyway, moving on a little bit forward, in terms of latest news, new ones, we don't have much new paperwork or news from the last video, other than a few things. So, fuboTV accelerates developments of Sportbooks, and then the $350 million convertible senior notes, the offering there is already out. And their financial results to be announced fully on March 2nd, 2021. And there will be an actual video, or a conference, a webinar, with the CEO and the CFO at 5:30 p.m. on March 2nd, 2021. Now, generally speaking, the total market cap is around $5.7 billion. Now, the first year target estimate is around 44.25. That's already been hit today. And then in terms of general financials, if we were to look into the last quarters, we get to see the total revenues, especially in the last 2 quarters, have been looking good, around 44 million and then followed 61 million. And we do know that in this quarter, we're looking somewhere here, let's just pull it back right here, around 94 to 98 million in terms of total revenue. And so we should be already in an advancement from the last few quarters. And that's really bullish. Now, general total expenses, we're not sure how much that would be cost, but if they're actually managing to stay around what they are usually, you're probably looking at almost breaking even in the net income. So in general, net income, these guys have always been net positive, but they're getting there very closely. And with 98 million, let's say they managed to put down their expenses around 110, that gap is getting smaller and smaller, and it really looks good for the future of this company. Balance sheet wise, right on here, you can see that in terms of the total assets, their total assets has been stagnant there, but really interested about the cash in general. I do expect that they do have more cash, especially as proceedings from the PIPE investments there. And so we can expect different things to come in. So I think total cash is on a quarter perspective. It actually doesn't have this data. Let's quickly try to load it here. But in general perspective, in the quarters, we do expect a little bit higher in terms of the total cash. Total current assets are sitting somewhere around 38 million. I do expect this one to be just a tad higher in this next paperwork. Now, total debt is around 46 million. They are on track to pay off their debt and be net positive. So that's something exciting. Now, is there any other news? We don't have any other news that we can actually share here. But next is the technical analysis. And technical analysis is very important because it helps you understand the perspective of the psychology of traders. Now, make sure to actually drop, subscribe, and leave notifications on. If you'd like to join our chat room, it's in the description below. It's on Discord. Now, on a one-day perspective, what we get to see is on the ADX, we're starting in a potential trend here, and that's something amazing. Now, the willing percent R is a little bit overbought. The MACD here is stagnant, and momentum doesn't tell you much. 10 SMA is above 30 EMA, and that's amazing, and the stock price is above the 50 SMA. Now, on a 2-hour perspective, 10 SMA is again above 30 EMA. It was a little bit rough yesterday, but it looks like it's attempting a basic trend here around 23.91 after 25. It actually does confirm that trend. Willing percent R is sitting a little bit towards the oversold part. Overbought part, and that's a little bit dangerous in that sense. MACD is a little bit of an issue there. Now, on the moving average parts, the moving average band, we can see this one is expected to trade 38.60 on the top, 35.09 in the middle, and 31.59 on the bottom. Stochastic fast and stochastic slow are both showing a possible leg up and a potential of another push. Next here is, just quickly before moving to Fibonacci retracements, there's something interesting about the pattern that it played here, because generally speaking, this pattern is actually heads and shoulder, which is a very bearish trend. But this one really defied it, and we're still on track to see perhaps another high. And it is somewhat off a little bit of a double bottom slash cup kind of weird child of that. But in general, we do see a bit more of an uptrend recently. Now we can go ahead and draw that trend line here. We're still above that trend line, and that's something important. But now the trend line has actually gone a little bit further somewhere around here. In fact, you can even draw a channel just with the last month's data, say around an hour here. And this around this month data, you can say that the channel possesses somewhere around here. And that looks somewhere around right. So in general, above 42, you're still in that channel. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the next thing here is the Fibonacci retracement. Significant support lines at 50.71, 41.69, 35.35, 29.01, and 21.17. Significant resistances at 62.21. Now, next thing here is what we want to do is supports and resistances lines. Significant supports and resistance will lie somewhere around, let's just drop here. Significant support lines around 49.97, followed by 45.20, a very strong one at 40.20, another strong one at 36.35, another strong one at 32.89, incredibly strong one at 28.96, followed by another strong one at 26.35. Resistances are weak, and that's a good thing. First resistance at 52.59, followed by 56.05, followed by 62.29. Come to the question to Ed, what do you think is going to happen next? Especially coming to earnings, one or two things are going to happen. If the earnings are actually, in fact, better than we've just seen today in that PR, you might, in fact, get a short squeeze. Just saying, if it's actually, in fact, 79% short interest, and it might be off, so you need to be very careful on that because there's a delay in that reporting. If you only know, all shorts have covered already. And short volume is a little bit different than short interest. Short volume, I think, is around 14-15% a day. Now, generally speaking, it can trigger a short squeeze, but I think that kind of mania is a little bit over. I mean, I think even if we talk about current like different stocks that are squeezing, they're struggling a little. They have their own problems right now. But generally speaking, I think that FUBO does have somewhat of a future. I do think that they will get net positive in the future. It's just that I'm not sure at $60 that's where I'm comfortable paying. Price over book is not yet basically updated with the latest data. We can probably get it updated after the new quarter comes out, but the price over sales sits at 51.34, and I think that's actually not accurate. So we need to wait a little until the next quarter to get these updated numbers. And of course, it's a lagging factor. But I do think that fuboTV, in terms of an investment, perhaps in 5-year return, probably would be a good way to go. Now, generally speaking, I am not very confident that in that kind of ballpark, we might get a short squeeze to go to 100 within the next few days. That's almost gambling-like. But as long as it stays within that channel I just literally showed you not long ago, around the 1 month, 1 hour perspective, I would say go ahead and trade it. I don't see why it might break that channel. So this is a tighter channel, but generally speaking, it's more of a channel within a channel. That's why you have the half dotted line. It looks something like this, and that is completely fine as long as it still plays within the channel and respect where your supports lie. What do you think about this tick? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. You have a wonderful day.